Alright guys, today we're back out here working on this 84 944. Alright, so today we're going to move this engine out and try and get it in. Alright, I've got the new pilot bearing here and I'm going to be installing it, but I couldn't find my pilot bearing puller, so what I'll do is the old bread trick. So the first thing you're going to do is take some bread and start packing it down in here. Just keep putting more bread in, and you can see it's moved a little bit here. So now it should just about be ready to come out. As it comes out, you have to keep putting bread in there. Now I'll use the crusts. And there you go. Now, if you got a hook, now you just take a hook and pull it out, and that's how you remove a pilot bearing with some bread. Alright, new pilot bearing is in. Alright, we now have the flywheel on. I took it to have it replated and then I had it resurfaced. Getting ready to install the pressure plate, and you can see the original clutch here, and here's the new one. Patrick's applying the grease to the throwout bearing, and we got all the hardware here and even some new bearings pressed in to the clutch fork. And over here we've got a new guide tube. Alright, we now have the bell housing on. Alright, we're getting ready to put the engine back in. Alright, we got the engine in now. Next I'll install the cross member. Alright, we've got the cross member cleaned up now, and before I can install it, I need to replace these old broken motor mounts, and you can see that I have some new ones here. Alright, the new mounts are in, and so now I can install the cross member. Alright, I have the cross member in, and as you can see, the engine is now sitting on its mounts. Now that the engine's in, I can finish putting everything back together, and I'm going to start with the headers here. These look brand new, but they aren't. I just had the original rusty ones cleaned up at the machine shop. I now have the engine bolted to the mounts and the headers on. So today I'm going to be working on installing the cam tower. So this evening I'm going to be installing the cam tower, and over in this box, as you can see, I have two to choose from. Alright, I got the cam tower on last night, and today I'm going to be installing new fuel lines. Alright, the new fuel lines are in, so next I'm going to work on getting some of these vacuum hoses installed and cleaning up the belt cover. I now have the new speed and reference sensors in, so next I'm going to continue cleaning up the engine bay. Alright, so I've been cleaning up the engine bay a little more today, and the next thing I want to do is paint this brake master cylinder. So I got it cleaned up, and as I was doing so, I noticed that it looks like fluid is running down on here, and if this is weeping here, that could explain why this car doesn't have any brakes, and would also explain why there isn't much paint on this. So what I'm going to do is get a good used master cylinder here, swap it in, and then I can get this painted up. Alright, I have the cylinder off now, and it is indeed leaking. You can see a bunch of fluid there. It's leaked down the side and is all down in there. Well, I was thinking that I had a rather new master cylinder laying around, but I don't, so I'm just going to go ahead and order a brand new one. I now have the brake booster painted, so now I'm just waiting for the new master cylinder to come in. Alright, so while I'm waiting for the new master cylinder to come in, I'm going to go ahead and rebuild all the calipers. And you can see that I have the rebuild kit here, and I also have new brake lines. Since I'm not sure exactly why the brakes don't work on this car, I'm going to replace everything that I can. As you can see, I'm also going to have to turn these rotors and replace these pads, but when I'm finished, these brakes should work great. I now have the front calipers and the lines removed, so next I'll start replacing everything. Alright, the new master cylinder has just arrived along with the brake pads, so now I'll go ahead and clean the brake calipers up and get everything installed. Alright, so I've got the brake reservoir here, and you may remember that this thing was really yellow. So my original plan was to just throw this one away and order another one, but unfortunately I couldn't find one that was exactly like this one. They only had the ones for the later cars. So I was looking at a few places online that restored plastics, and they talked about something called retro bright, which they used on computer cases that have turned yellow and things like that. And so I just went to the beauty salon and picked this up. It's got a large amount of hydrogen peroxide in it, and so I just soaked this whole thing in it and wrapped it up and let it sit in the sun for a few days, and as you can see, it's looking pretty good now. So it isn't perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Alright, I've got the front calipers and pistons cleaned up. There was a lot of rust on these calipers, and I'd asked the owner if he wanted them plated or painted any certain color, and he didn't want that. But unfortunately, in order to protect them, I had to put a light coat of black paint on here. But that's just for protection. But anyway, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and hone these cylinders here and start putting everything back together. Alright, I've got the calipers back on now with new pads and a brand new brake line. As you can see, this engine is coming together very nicely, and I also have the air oil separator on. So the next thing I'm going to install is this new thermo switch. I have the new belts installed, and I've also rotated the engine twice to make sure that the marks are still lined up. Now that I have the belts on, I'll go ahead and install the belt cover. Last night I got the belt covers installed, so today I'm going to install a new inspection plug here and a new sticker right there. that I have those on, the next thing I'll do is install a distributor cap gasket. And now that that's installed, next I'll install the distributor cap. Alright, I finished repainting the engine bay, and since this engine looks so nice, I've decided to go ahead and replace the yellow expansion tank. Alright, I've got the vacuum lines installed. Now you can see I replaced a bunch of these hoses, and I had everything plated, so everything looks like brand new. Next, I'll install the intake. Alright, I have the intake and some of these coolant hoses on, so tomorrow I'll install the radiator, and we'll be just a little bit closer to firing this thing up. Well guys, I got the intake installed, and as I was putting the throttle body on, I found that this hole here was stripped. So I'm going to have to take it back off and replace that intake with this one here. Alright, the other intake is on, so next I'll install the throttle body. Alright, I've got the radiator here, and as you can see the fan shroud's broken, so I'm going to be replacing that one with this one here. Alright, and I have the fan shroud replaced. I also replaced this piece here and cleaned everything up. But before I install the fans onto the radiator, I'm going to install a new thermo fan switch since these have been failing a lot lately. I now have the radiator installed, and so next time I'm going to finish up these new hoses, and I also have a few other things that I want to install to clean up this engine bay just a little bit more. Afterwards, we're going to wrap up this engine and finally get it started, so I hope you stay tuned for that. But anyway guys, for now that's going to do it for this video. If you'd like to stay up to date with some of the projects we're working on around the shop, be sure to check out our Facebook page. I'll leave a link in the description below. I also want to thank everyone who supports this channel on Patreon, since these videos would not be possible without you. But anyway guys, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.